All right, everyone. So the next session is data-driven innovation, discovering the best for your organization. And this will be conducted by Mr. Manish Panjwani, Chief Technology Officer, Shriram Automall. Mr. Manish is a techie by passion and digital native, have architect award-winning products to build tech organization, have led world-renowned technology initiative for many blue-chip clients, Canon, Learning.com, Pearson, etc. From FinTech and EdTech CEO to presently CTO with the Shriram Automall India Limited Group. Company's leading tech innovation-led business growth for the company. Writer and speaker on AI, data science, cybersecurity, blockchain, metaverse, digital-first, auto tech leadership. Mentor with the Tier 1 tech colleges in India. So with a huge round of applause, can we give them a huge round of applause, everybody? Come on. So can we have Mr. Manish Panjwani, Chief Technology Officer, Shriram Automall with us. Thank you so much, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Great. So today I'm going to be covering the data-driven innovation. I think this is quite a big subject in itself, and at some level, most of our organizations over the years have been doing so. I'm going to cover what new technological side of innovations which has happened and how it has propelled the whole journey for us in the overall business. So to start with, we all know these big brands, right? And the one thing out of this, there is something common, which is data and analysis. If we see companies like Uber, we all know, how they have started their business, starting with we know this is cab hailing service, and how they are using the data and analysis to start with their drivers selection to over the predicting how they're going to be bringing the cabs and all sort of a thing for them. At the same time, Airbnb or Spotify, their primary business, if you see, it starts with the data. They work on it and they do all this predictive modeling for themselves, and then based on that they further they run their whole business altogether. Coming to that, if we take the kind of a use case today, let's assume we have got a complex retail environment, and which is already crowded place at the moment, and we are already seeing a lot of players bringing in a lot of new items. For example, quickest deliveries to providing suggestive products to you. So all these things are already happening. While this is happening, and if you see, clothing as an industry, or apparel as an industry, if you see, it's constantly moving. The user preferences are also moving. So it is sort of an area where any new business would think a little before we get into something like this. So while we do so, if you look at the next one, some of the companies like Stitch Fix, they started their business. They conceptually started their business with the data. Having said so, it sounds so great when a company, starts with a concept. Let's say, as a customer, if I receive clothing for myself, and which is customized for myself, and that means I have a stylist for me. Which is usually not possible when we talk about a business at a scale which is dealing with thousands and millions of the customers. In that case, think of it how data can come in and provide a lot of insights into the customer's preference, and it tries to understand a lot of customer preferences, to understand demographics, to trends which are happening. So of course, all of it starts with two primary things. One is the data and the love for the data and the passion for the apparel or the retail industry. So talking about further, all of these new business models that we are just discussing, these are primarily the data using the predictive models to provide the new products and services. In this case, there are challenging environments which poses such industries. For example, a company have to stock variety of clothings. Instead of that, the machine learning models would suggest as to how much to stock, for example. And there are new business models which are building out of it. And so there, one of the CEO, in fact, which is Catherine Lake, who also said, instead of we put together as a standard business where we get the apparels, we do set up all the operation first. Instead of that, we first set up the understanding of the customer data, we put together the algorithms in place, and then we start serving the customer. So it is actually the other way around. So setting the right requirement that the customer would need, that's where it starts. And so that's sort of one of the use case I tried to put it up here, which is more of a product, which is sort of a new business model altogether. If I talk about where the use cases are even more fuzzy, that's where our data analysis and these predictive models, they are bringing even more and more value to us. So they are bringing more clarity to us. And they are solving, and the problems that we're trying to solve today, I think instead of confining to a particular sort of a specific use case to other versus serving the industry altogether, if that's the aim, then these new business model would serve better and generate the higher revenues for the company. So I want to take another example here as where the data and the analysis and the whole science around it has taken a place, and it has become a more of a service based on that. So I know some of us would have already used a lot of services from, let's say, Cars24, right, or Spinny, right? These are all used vehicle industry. They're pre-owned, we can say. Over here, assume it if you're a buyer, it is very difficult to estimate the value of that used vehicle, right? Because we may not be the subject matter expert of this particular business. However, basis the information shared with you, if you put that up into some of the services like I'm going to talking about, that will give you closest prediction of that particular vehicle or an equipment like that. So okay, so I'm going to talk about this another data-driven service. It started with back in 2011, where from there to till now millions of data which has been used. Based on that, we built our machine learning models. Today, this is the business, this is the industry problem. Vehicle could be coming from different sources. Wherever we see at the Cars24, it may be a end user vehicle, it may be a leasing vehicle, it may be a vehicle from different sources altogether. So and all would fetch a different value. How do you get the price for it? Today, if we buy a vehicle in Delhi NCR versus at some other places surrounding, that will fetch a different value. A vehicle from here we can understand Faridabad, Gurgaon, or Noida. All these three comes into NCR, but the vehicle valuation would be different. So coming to that, this is sort of more of an industry problem. Although we are looking at as an end user out here, but at the same time businesses where, let's talk about the banks, right? Banks have got their NPAs. They do liquidate their NPAs through the different platforms, through auction platforms or XYZ. While they do so, they need a valuation. They need a price of a vehicle as on date. At the same time, if we talk about at the OEM, where the exchange of the vehicle happens at the business, that's where these price gets used. So there are so many use cases. So coming back to the point, this is the industry problem that someone trying to solve, and with the help of data and the algorithms, of course. So I've taken some sample examples to showcase. Although it looks simple out here, filling the information about the vehicle and getting the price at a particular location, but it's about understanding all sort of a thing. We do so in the earlier session also we have heard this again and again. Data is the most important thing, and while we say so, when we start anything, we really don't match up a lot of data with the KPIs. That's when the lot of challenge starts. So one of that is there. At the same time, having a right data is very important. Of course, the technology over the period has evolved with a lot of ready-to-use machine learning algorithms, which we'll be talking about. However, always question goes back where the companies are spending most of their time. They're probably spending most of the time in the ETL activities, which is again the data. Going next, we talked about how these prices could change at a different state level. So that would be a state price prediction. If we talk about different altogether sellers, banks, insurance companies, NBFC, the prices could change by all the different sources who are giving the vehicles into the market, right? So this is another level of analysis. But if we see the data is still the same, the models are getting different and generating different results for the business. So this was about the industry problem solving across. Coming to very important aspect, these predictive models, we build it once, but then it really takes 80% of the time in optimizing these models to bringing the higher accuracy. That's where most of the time goes in. We really need to, it's not just a feedback, but the feed forward to understand how these are actually functioning, not just through the customers, but also from the outliers as well. This is one. As an extension to solving the industry problem, it's also about giving something back to the society, giving something back based on the knowledge, know-how that we have. That gives a lot of thought leadership back from the organization side of it. While we are already building, as a company, as an organization, we are already building a lot of these models. There's also side by side, we build a lot of additional information that gives insight about the industry. And it is possible not just, we understand it's not just by our own data, but also we have to acquire data from the market and all together. So, something to like that, if we give it back, this is how we generate the value for the industry at the same time for the organization. So it comes back in some way to the organization. Okay, so that was about how this data analysis is helping in different products and services. Now I'm going to the technology part of it, which is about, what we're talking about today is how this technology is evolving, this whole, propelling the whole development on the technology side. If you look at the data, we are today at 328 million terabytes a day that we are producing. So it's a huge data that we are producing in the world today. And if you see the trend has been like in about COVID era that we were close to 40 terabytes a day, and today if you look at it, we are already close to 100 and 120, right? So which means we have already double in just few years. And if you look at the earlier 10 years, our growth wasn't that significant. So considering this, this is based on this trend, what we really need in the next couple of years is really robust infrastructure for our cloud and building the our model. So if you look at this, our cost of acquiring the data, that's going to increase. Cost of building the models is going to increase. Cost of maintaining the models is going to increase. So these are all implications because of that. And so we have to do our budgeting in such a way that we are ready for the future. However, at the same time, there are a lot of new techniques to be built to reduce some of these costs. Coming to that, which is cloud computing, which is already helping us in many different ways today, from storage to ETL activities to also reviewing some of these SAS products where we are reviewing how our models are doing over the different versions. At the same time, some of the ready-to-use frameworks, I mean, these are not something new, but TensorFlow or PyTorch or all sort of things. These Caffe2, Tiano, these all are out there. I mean, these are the frameworks which has actually propelled the whole development activity if you look at it. Otherwise, if you look at the trend of adoption of the AI hasn't been that significant unless these ready-to-use frameworks have really kicked in, and not only kicked in but also stabilized over the period of time. Coming to some of the examples here, let's say YOLO, I mean for the image classification and image detection sort of it. This is all experience. For example, YOLO 5 version has been there. It's been quite a stable one. It's been doing well. Usually what we do is, as the new version comes, let's say YOLO 6 or 7, we try to adopt to it. At the moment, 7 is going on. However, these are not the stable versions. Those accuracies are much less. The same time, all these frameworks have plus and minuses to really balance it out, and we need to move forward. Some more frameworks that we are very well known for: supervised and unsupervised learning, be it a bagging or boosting techniques, whatever we may use for. There are algorithms and there are frameworks available for it. While we do so, it's when we build all these products, it's important how we are doing our hyperparameter tuning. How are we doing? How we are customizing the parameters for XGBoost, for example, right? These all things step by step builds on the predictive modeling. We all understand. We just seen a pricing model. Let's say earlier, it's not just the pricing of my data would help, but also the external factor would affect a lot. For example, if COVID happens, then the vehicle pricings will be depending upon the market demand. Things would change, and so the pricing would change. So these external